Hola amigos, welcome back to another episode of La Vida Verde podcast. I'm your host Matthew Human here at Finca Vida Verde. My guest today is Freedom, Harmony, Courage, and this is how they like to be named. They are visionary of the new earth, game world builder, consciousness explorer, a light worker, a collaborative creator of the greaterment of the new earth, and one of my neighbors here in La Covia. It's going to be a very interesting conversation. So we hope you enjoy. Freedom, harmony, and courage. Welcome to La Vida Verde podcast.
Thank you, Human. It's nice to be here.
I'm laughing because this is like, I've known you since you got here as Teresa. And I'm just curious, so I wanted to start with this. What's the name all about?
I literally just kind of changed it. This is my triad of values inside the new earth.
Is this how your intro to the world as freedom, harmony, courage, or this is
kind of, yeah, pretty much, because this is the first time I'm really actually going on camera to really talk about that, but also about some of this stuff.
Okay.
I've been doing a little bit of it, but I'm really stepping back into it now.
Okay.
And so this really is my introduction back into the world, and I've kind of dropped the personality I knew as Teresa. I went back to Canada throughout the summertime and really resolved my world inside the matrix, which is what I consider capitalism and authoritarianism, and which is basically modern society that we live in. And I'm playing a different game now, and my intention is to play a different game. And although that was an amazing part of my life, I've resolved most of my traumas, I've resolved most of my relationships, and I'm on a different journey now, and I really do feel like a new person. And so the new name is the new identification of this new personality that is emerging and letting go of the old matrix version of me.
I think that's really beautiful. I think I totally commend that. And I think it's brave because a lot of people are stuck in their past and their history of like who they were and like this identity of what they are. And the truth is we do create our own reality. And I think so freedom, harmony, and courage. It's a nice reminder for you as well, I guess, of your core principles. And every time you hear it, this is how you are being identified. So yeah,
exactly. And when someone says it to me, it reminds me that I'm not necessarily living 100% of that value system yet, but they re-trigger me, and we hear our name all the time. So they re-trigger me back to my value system and go, oh yeah, right. Am I living in harmony right now? And what does that feel like? Embody that, embed that into your codes, and then open back up. And so it's a reminder, like the name Teresa, I love it, and it's associated with Mother Teresa, but then there's actually some weird expectations, especially with what I do, around my role in people's lives sometimes, which sometimes was an identifier that I was like, I don't know that I want to step into Mother Teresa's role. She was a really incredible woman. And
is that what you were named after her?
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
So I'm like, she's an incredible woman, incredible story. And yes, I can see when people make comparisons, but at the same time, I'm like, that's not me. I'm a totally different person playing a totally different game.
Oh, that's interesting. I never even made that connection that you were like related or identified like with the Mother Teresa role. But okay, so no, and it's great because it's true when you the energy of the name is really important, and it also lets go of like, I don't know, for me when I became human, for years I was Matt,
yeah.
And then people are little Matt, and then it was like I took the name Human, and for me it was a total like I needed to let go of the old me in order to have that, and that was a really good opportunity for that, because suddenly I wasn't that person anymore, because you're not that person.
No.
You're not. We're growing. We're constantly evolving. At some point, for me, though, picking up the name, like bridging those worlds, like that's why I even had you listed as Teresa Freedom, Teresa Hardware, Teresa Courage, because I'm not the human, and that's how I've done it. Is like I've actually found a way, because I don't know. For me, like I don't know. I think there was a time when it was possible for me. I was not able. At some point, it all came back together. So maybe it'll happen for you. Maybe not.
Well, and I still use Teresa inside the Matrix. Like, I'm not legally going to change my name.
Right.
I'm still going to use it inside the Matrix, but it also allows me to separate the worlds. That I'm like, when I do banking, it's all Matrix activity, or government stuff, it's all Matrix activity. And so it's separating my lives into these two games I'm playing.
Okay, so you separate, I've heard you mention this a number of times, you separate the Matrix and the New Earth.
Yeah.
This is what is the difference?
Okay, so the difference is the Matrix is capitalism, authoritarianism, which is basically, all world governments and the existing systems that are inside the Earth at this point. And then the New Earth, it exists at this point in time in the sense of like an emotional and frequency state. It's based on a lot of like the value systems and the understanding, but it's kind of that like freedom, harmony and courage. And it's sort of an energetic system that you live in. And I learned that in the pandemic because, you brought in, we create our own reality. And when someone kept bringing it into my life that you create your own reality, initially I was rejecting it, going, yeah, but I didn't create, the traumas when I was 5, the traumas when I was like growing up. Like I couldn't have done that, and I couldn't accept a responsibility for that until I did. And then as soon as I did, I went, okay, I'm going to accept responsibility for that, and every decision I make in my life moving forward, it changed my reality. And then I was like, I live in freedom, which means I'm bound to no laws within the game, to no laws that are outside of my own highest good. And I can align back to that system. And in aligning back to that system, I realized I had ultimate freedom. So while my family and friends were locked in Canada, I was living in paradise, like doing more than I'd ever imagined. And right now, like I do anything I want. I live in complete and utter freedom every single day. And that's part of the value system shifting. Part of the New Earth is understanding that we have the ability to create anything. And so that's the beginning mindset of getting into the New Earth is to understand that we can break free from the old one and we can create whatever we want and become the creators. And really the difference between the Matrix and the New Earth to me is actually just the flip to the creator mode. You really take full responsibility and become the creator of your reality, and become the creator not just of your own individual reality, but then you can work into shared realities and collective realities and start to look to how to change those and shape those.
Okay, and I think that's super powerful and super beautiful. And and the Matrix world is still running the show to some degree. It's like you can't really just walk away from it. I mean, I've tried. And I know that you can't. You have to somehow continue to engage, like you said, with banking.
Yep.
For instance. So how are you like right now reconciling those two things? Like, you just see them as separate things? You know what I mean? Is there like a space for them to exist together?
For sure, they're both going to exist together for a period of time. I consider like us the transition team. So we're moving between the old game to the new game. It's going to take a little bit of energy to move us from one to the other. And it's going to take more people to really want to shift from one to the other. But I operate kind of like you do, which is you have moments of time where you're like, okay, got to get into the mind frame of doing like the matrixy stuff, getting on the computer, doing the work, doing the banking, figuring out how to rectify bills. The difference is actually, money's an energy management system. It's actually not totally real. And when you kind of realize that and that you can manifest it from places you don't expect that it's going to come from, and that you can pull energy fields from various different places that you're like, maybe I should, maybe I shouldn't. Maybe this is a good financial move. I'm not going to run it by a financial advisor because I'm sure they'd say no. But at the same time, you can play different fields and make it work. And somehow at the end of the month, it always works. And at the end of the period, I always manage to manifest. That being said, I don't believe you can move into that field and not be a contributor. And so you cannot just literally drop out of the game and become a self-centered sort of like laying on the couch. You have to contribute to the field. And if you're not contributing to the field, the law of abundance no longer works for you. If you're playing in the field of abundance, you automatically contribute and abundance comes back. It may or may not come back to you in the form of money, but I believe we're moving from financial currency being the primary thing that transacts to relationship currency becoming the main thing that's going to transact, is that your relationships, you're not going to be able to buy people the same way that you used to. Your relationships are going to become, and the trust base that you have inside your relationships are going to become primary currency in the next phase.
Fuck, I really hope that's true, because I'm so over this, trying, because it's corrupt. It is corrupt. It's like the financial reality is corrupt as all get out. And and people, it keeps people out of integrity, because you can just buy your way out of things. Like, people can buy their way into anything. If you have enough money, you can seemingly do whatever you want in this world
right now.
Yeah, and get create your own. That's how we create our own reality in that world. And the Matrix is with money, and yeah, it's not really always. It's not based on integrity. It's not based on truth, on freedom and harmony and courage.
No, it's not. The game's set up competitive, and that's the core root of the difference between two.
Okay.
The Matrix and the New Earth is that the Matrix is set up as a competitive game intentionally. If we compete against each other, and then there's referees in the game who step outside of it, we're focused on each other, and then there's referees who can control the game. So there's a setup of the game there that's meant to be intentional. Inside the New Earth, it's no longer competitive. We're inside collective games, and we're inside contribution games where we work together.
Yeah, explain this a little bit, because you said you're a game world builder. What is a game? I think of I'm thinking of Zelda or something.
It's actually where we're headed. We are headed to a gamification of a game. The Matrix. No, seriously, it really is. I keep going back into learning more about gamification, because we're really going to gamify the next version of it.
What is gamification?
So gamification is basically taking our reality and putting games to it. How do you make it fun? How do you make education fun? How do you make learning fun? How do you make the corporate world fun? How do you make relationship building fun? How do you make personal development fun? And how can you make little games and fun ways and tricks how to learn those types of things? That's sort of the world of gamification.
Okay.
And the Matrix, to me, was built in sort of a 2D board game style. And we're moving to a virtual reality.
VR.
We're going full out VR.
Okay.
We're inside full out visionary games, developments, communications, all stuff going just so fun and gamed.
And what was what was your big awakening? I mean, I wanted to ask you was how much LSD was involved in this decision? I mean, what was your big awakening? Where did it come from?
Okay.
Because you came from, maybe tell us a little bit about your past too. You grew up in Canada.
Yeah.
You're where, Toronto or?
I'm about 2 hours outside of Toronto in a small rural community, about 3,000 people. And yeah, my first 38 years in the Matrix, full out programmed inside the Matrix, living a very Matrix normal life.
Yeah,
super dysfunctional job. And then my husband dies. So he fell asleep while driving. And before the police came to the door, he came to be in spirit. And that was a breaking moment. Then the doorbell rings. I go down. The police tell me he's dead. And then I go to the river.
He came to you before you even found out he was dead. You had a visit from his spirit.
Yes. So it was 2:30 in the morning. I didn't stay up for him because he was coming home late. And I woke up in the middle of the night, which never happened because at that moment of time, I was still taking sleeping pills. And so I didn't usually wake up ever. And I woke up, but I woke up going, there's someone in my room. And I had a really clear sense that someone was in my room, but then there was, my sight and everything was there's no one here. But at the same time, I could comprehend that there was someone in the room, or this sense. And then my mind went back into where's my husband? Why is he not beside me? What's going on? And then soon enough, the doorbell rang and it was the police. And then that unfolded. I went to the river, and then the animals were alive in a whole new way. The birds were looking at me, trying to talk to me. Fish were jumping.
Wait, you lived on the river or what?
We lived not far from the river, and I would go there, to clear my mind, the way I would have said it in the Matrix. Occasionally, nothing like this had ever happened. But this morning, before I went to tell my youngest son, Elijah, that his dad was dead, I was I got to clear this and figure out what I'm going to say. to everyone and how to present that type of information. And everything was alive. And I was like, I know you're here. And I was bawling, going, you have to come back. But that evolves into like, I went to write the eulogy, and he dictated the eulogy to me, and I got to the end of it and went, I don't know the context of what I just wrote. All I heard was words coming through, and I wrote it down and had to read it back. And then it just kept going of him talking to me and then going, what the heck? There is a spiritual world that exists.
That was your first experience in that.
Yeah, it was like a before and after moment of going like, I'm inside the Matrix, now there's something else, and this is nuts. And then it went on for like, I went on for about 6 months that he was really intensively with us, and my youngest, Elijah, could see him. And so when I was channeling, he would confirm to me that he was seeing my husband, and he sees him as an orb, usually. Like, he'll describe it as like a happy face or a ball of light. And so anytime I was channeling, he would be like, Mom, Dad's here.
How old was he?
He was 6 when my husband died.
Okay.
And so it was just this confirmation of going, this must be real, or he's going crazy. But I didn't necessarily believe it either. I was really in doubt, going, I don't know. But I had enough people going, it's making you like feel better, and you seem happier that you at least think you can talk to him. So what's the harm? And I was like, okay. And then, so that went on for a while. And then in 2019, things changed. Like, we had talked about the afterlife for almost 2 years at that point. And he came to me with a warning and said, you need to do some disaster preparing. And I was like, what? And so it kind of went a little bit into understanding what was going on the global collective, and going, I need to understand what's going on in the environmental crisis, the political crisis, what's really going on in my world. And I was being woken up to not.
You weren't aware of those things.
No, I was completely politically disconnected, environmentally disconnected. I knew we should recycle, and that was about my knowledge of it. And I turned around, read the IPCC report, the IPCC report, the report on the environmental stuff that they put out. That's
in Canada.
No, it's the global one, done by the global leaders. But I read a whole bunch of stuff. I really researched it, saw a whole bunch of stuff in visions, tried to confirm them to be unreal, confirmed that the trajectory showed possibilities as being relatively high if we kept on the same trajectory. Wow. And then in May of 2019, I received the plans for an online education system. And I have no real education background. But was told we'd need them in the event of a pandemic. And I was like, okay, this is odd, but I took them down. And
you mean you channeled this?
I channeled it. Yeah, it was just like all these thoughts or channels that came down that were like, we need to do an online education system. And, it was a whole bunch of, I don't know, it's a pretty deep thing, so I won't get into it. But that came, and then they're like, get it in the hands of Oprah. And I'm like, ha, ha, ha. Could you pick the most unaccessible woman in the world?
Right.
So get it. And they're like, the message came back really clear. She's coming to your area. Look it up. And I'm like, what? She never comes to Canada. This is not happening. And I'm like, oh my gosh, she's giving a presentation 2 hours from where I am in 3 weeks.
Wow.
So I bought tickets, but the Toronto Raptors went into the playoffs and her presentation got canceled. But I got no guidance as to what to do. And I started talking to all my Matrix friends and family, and they're like, yeah, we're not going to have a pandemic. They're not going to shut down the education
And
system.
Oprah's not coming.
Well, and Oprah wasn't coming.
Yeah.
And so I was like, okay, that's logical, until January of 2020, when I was glued to news coming out of China going, no, guys, we're going to have a pandemic. I think my guidance is right here. And still people were like, no. And I'm like, I think so. And then sure enough, as soon as the pandemic got called, I was like, I got to listen. I got to wake up and hear what's being brought through me, what my guidance is trying to show me, and really pay attention to what these probabilities and what can exist in the field, and how to shift some of because that was one of many possibility timelines that I've seen that could play out. And it's based on humans' thoughts and beliefs and our actions, basically.
Yeah. You what? Wait, hold on. It's okay.
All right.
And break. Like, so wait, what happened with? I want to know what happened with Oprah.
Okay, what?
Did anything? There was nothing.
There was nothing.
Okay, so Oprah wasn't part of the plan. That
She was never. Well, you know.
But it was just the confirmation that like, it showed you that like, wow, this thing that I intuited is actually like, there's some truth, there's some connection I'm having, and it helped you to trust yourself more.
Exactly. Exactly. It was the moment where I went from, I'm not making this stuff up in my head, because I would not make this stuff up in my head. This is way beyond my scope and understanding of information and possibilities, to I've got to pay attention.
And so then the pandemic, so you said it's human, what did you say? Do you believe we chose to have the pandemic? Like,
no, yes and no. Humanity aligns to thoughts and actions, and those create our reality. So on the individual level, our thoughts create our reality, and then whatever we think about, we move into action. So we have to stay congruent to our belief systems. And so we move into those timelines based on our belief systems, and humanity moved into that timeline in big part, not because of necessarily the everyday person, but because the people who manage the energy management systems decided that that was going to get added to the game. And so that was added to the game because our energy management systems are being controlled through groups that want to control the energy management systems.
do you watch movies?
Sometimes.
Do you like Marvel?
Yeah.
You ever watch Loki?
I haven't watched Loki.
This is like you have to watch Loki. This is like so much of what that's all about. And you know, just to your credit, I really believe that like a lot of entertainment and art is coming, like they're just intuiting a lot of the same,
For sure.
you know, stuff that's already kind of out there that like is in the field. So yeah, I mean, you know, obviously they're coming from a similar perspective. So do you believe in a multiverse?
For sure. 100%.
Everything's happening differently at the same time.
Oh, yeah.
And do you think you can jump from one to the
I
other
do.
just through like, okay,
I do.
do it. I see you like.
So, okay. Wow.
I'm just kidding. I'm sorry.
We're going to go really deep if we're going into multi.
Okay, no. I think we should. We've only got another. Yeah, we got another 10 minutes. So
another level. We could get really deep into some spiritual concepts on this one.
Okay, so so you intuited the pandemic. You felt it was coming. Is that when you came to La Covia then? When you joined this community, or when did you come here?
I came here. I was the first one to come after the pandemic lockdown.
Oh.
At least I should specify to buy.
Bye.
After the pandemic lockdowns. And that was pretty much, you know, our guidance sends us a lot of signs, and there was a lot of signs, and I kept going, this is going to fall apart.
So you waited till it already happened. We were locked down when you came down.
We were locked down when we came down here. I went through the first set of lockdowns inside Canada.
Okay.
And then I came here and escaped the next two sets of lockdowns in Canada and the vaccine push.
Okay. So, yeah, okay. And you bought a beautiful house in La Ecovia, the original La Ecovia. Vita and Melina, my good friends, built that house. It's a gorgeous house. I've always loved that house.
I love my house.
Yeah. And you've done some cool stuff there. Like your ex-partner did like this, was a ceramics guy and did this beautiful, cool, like fire ceramics area. There's some cool stuff happening over there.
Yeah, I got the Quetzalcoatl, the Mayan calendar, and a full Alice in Wonderland theme. Because I consider that I don't really live in the Matrix, but I haven't been able to fully grid the new Earth yet. So I actually live in Wonderland, which is the realm of possibilities.
Okay. Well, okay. So there's the new Earth, there's the Matrix, and then there's Wonderland.
Yeah, that's right.
And you live in Wonderland.
I live in Wonderland.
It's okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And yes, for Halloween you did this Alice in Wonderland themed game that you created for the kids. I thought that was really cool, like because it offered the kids like I'll kind of briefly describe it. You had like different rooms, three different rooms, and the kids there was items in each room, and the kids could either they went to the first room, they could either pick something from that room, or they could not. But if they picked something, they couldn't pick another thing. Or they could go to the next room and pick something else, or they could go to the next room and pick something else. But you can only pick one thing.
Right.
But you don't know what's in the next room.
Exactly.
It's kind of a mind... It's kind of a psychological...
It is. It's a reality creation exercise to understand that the realities are constantly shifting, and that there was tricks and loopholes. I'm actually not going to reveal it because I'm going to do this exercise quite a few times through the personal development stuff.
Oh.
But it is a reality creation exercise of understanding that
there's a cheat code.
There is a cheat code.
It's like X, X, Y, Y,
Okay,
I'll
do the cheat code. The cheat code is that you can actually take an option.
Wait, everyone's gonna see this. You can't. You're never gonna. You're gonna have to change it.
That's okay, and I'll let them anyways. If people are gonna watch the content, I'll give you that cheat code, which is that you can take an item from the reality in the first room, and you can actually switch it in the next room.
Oh.
And you can take something from the next room, but you would have had to leave that item inside the next room. It didn't actually say in the rules that you couldn't drop an item in the room. It just said you couldn't go back to the last room.
Oh.
And that's true. You can't go back to the past.
So were you like waiting for the child to do that? And then once they did, they'd be like, you are the chosen one child.
There were 2 kids that broke the code and understood it. They kind of got tipped off a little bit.
Okay, well, that's...
Some parents helped a little bit and would ask the questions. And my whole thing was you can ask guidance if you want, but you don't have to take guidance either. And that's true to life.
Like phone a friend.
And so if you took guidance, like I was there the whole time to answer questions. If someone wanted to ask me if they could take an item to the next room and drop it, I said yes. And so some of them asked the question and figured out that cheat code.
Those are the out-of-the-box thinkers then, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, very interesting.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's cool. Okay, so what's next? I mean, so first of all, that was really fun. It was really cool. And actually, you and I think it's funny because this conversation right now is happening because of like an online tiff that not a tiff, but like a disharmony that then and I really appreciated that. Like after that happened, you're like, just let's talk. You want to call me? And I was like, yeah, let's, because I always feel that is the best. Like in community, little differences happen, little fights happen, but if you can talk it out, it usually can resolve itself. So I appreciated that you were willing to.
I felt no disharmony in it, which is interesting, but I knew you had gone into disharmony, and I was like, this is not going to work through text, and
yeah.
I wanted to make sure that we cleared whatever needed to get cleared, because I was like, don't take it bad. I love you. I think you're amazing, and I like playing in the zone, and I think people who know me well enough are like, I like to push boundaries and test limits and see where the reactions are and how people interact in situations and what happens when different things happen, because we're inside a social experiment. So to me, I'm good with it, but I don't like disharmony in the field, so I do like to clear it as quickly as if someone's open to it. Not everyone's always open to it, but when they're open to it, I do love clearing.
I mean, yeah, it's important to be able to you don't want to leave things unresolved.
No, agreed.
So you brought us some homework. You brought these, games almost. I saw these and I'm like, these are first of all, really beautiful. Thank you. So and just kind of, did you come from a graphic design background? Because this is like gorgeous.
Yeah, I ran a marketing company for about 7 years. So learning how to do the basics on Photoshop, I would not move myself into a category of a graphic designer. They have way better skills than I do, but I've got the basics of Photoshop down.
But you were working for yourself or for a company, myself. And now you're working for the New Earth.
Yeah.
Is that the way you would?
I pretty much work for the light, so I pretty much work for whatever I'm supposed to bring out into service of the world at this moment of time.
Does the light give you benefits? Does it pay you?
No.
The light does not pay well.
It's a terrible pair. They don't work in money. Okay. They work in energy fields. Here's how it works, though. Like, because I said it always works out. Somehow it always works out. You just have to be creative. I was created in the Matrix, though, too. Like, I was told by everyone around me, you will never be able to buy a house. Your husband's bankrupt. You have no money. He's lost his job. You're not buying a house. And I bought a house. I was like, no, I can totally do it. They're like, the banks will never finance you. I'm like, the banks are the only way to do it.
You mean in Canada, or was this your? Okay.
This one's creatively financed, too. I don't technically own my whole house. You learn how to creatively work with energy fields. And when you have, you know, an infinite mindset to look at infinite possibilities, you have the way to look and go, how do I make this work so that I can continue to eat? I have also backed off going, I realize that we only need clean air, clean food, clean water, and shelter from the elements to stay alive.
Mm-hmm.
And so I've really dropped most of my needs in the sense of going, I don't need anything. Bonus, if it shows up into my life or I can afford it, I'll answer yes if it's in my luxury and it's available to me. But I also don't care. I'm like, I have my basic elements met. And I don't believe that money in the bank anymore is going to service us. I believe that we really need physical, real assets. And I've shored those up in my life.
Good.
And so I never panic anymore. And I'm like, whatever, I can figure out how to manage the bills online and the matrix field whatever way. And whatever happens there happens.
But you feel like it's temporary.
I think the matrix is temporary.
Yeah.
I think the new earth is unfolding.
I hope so.
I really believe
I hope so, because I look at this and I see all this, some really beautiful things. Do you want to just do a quick, is there a way to do a very, we got 4 minutes left to do a...
I don't know. Here we brought this in, so let's bring this one in, this is reality creation. This is the basics of the field, which is thoughts plus actions equals attraction. And we live inside the collective reality, which is all of us, and you can influence the collective reality. But you don't have ultimate control over collective reality, which is where reality creation sometimes is where people get stuck of going, but I can't control all of this. And I'm like, you can influence it. And you can change your reality within that to change your proximity to the collective realities that are not working for you. Mm. And then there's shared realities, which I consider sort of more relationship collateral realities where you know the people a bit more and you're more directly relating with them. And you have a lot of influence, high influence, depending your role here inside a shared reality. And then you have your individual reality. And this is where you have ultimate freedom. And you can do lots inside your individual reality to set yourself in proximity to what's going on.
So is this what overlaps? Is that what those are?
Yeah.
So mild overlapping of coworkers, friends, and acquaintances as well.
Yeah.
And partner and shared reality. Okay.
Yeah. And inside your thoughts, you have your beliefs, your emotions, perceptions, values, intentions, visions, goals, and knowledge. And then once you get into the action field, you're inside the energy field, and there's money and influences, resources and skills and all that type of stuff that's inside the energy field. And these two together create a reality pretty much exclusively in terms of humans' reality. If we're talking nature, we got a different reality system slightly, but this is humanity's reality system.
Okay. And I'm looking down checklists, and I thought this was a board game. I thought this was a game. You should create a game.
I'm in the middle of creating a game.
Okay. There's no copyrights in the New Earth, so
there's no copyright. Actually, please take all this and teach it and do whatever you want with anything. I actually work in copyleft, so this is all. The New Earth is open source. Everything's available. Please, the more we can actually elevate the consciousness, the more we unfold a new reality that's in the benefit of all of us.
Yes. Okay, I love that. Well, I got to be honest. I thought there was going to be a lot more. I thought I was going to be rolling my eyes a lot more today, and I actually feel a lot of resonance with pretty much most everything you said, actually. And I feel it's reassuring.
You know what? I think if we have dropped down the multiverse category, I could have gotten you a few high rolls in that category and the audience quite a few levels. But it's amazing. When I talk about husband died and channeling and stuff like that, there's a lot of eye rolls initially.
No, my father died, and I had a very similar experience.
Did you?
Yeah, absolutely. I've always believed a lot of that. My mom too. My mom was gone to mediums, and I was raised to believe that, really. And then it was very clear to me when he died, some of that stuff, that's a whole nother story that we don't have time for right now.
But I'd love to go into
yeah, and a personal we can talk about sometime. But it's I know that stuff is real. There's no question. And I actually have been, a lot of these concepts are things that I also have been, for a lot of years, putting out there through my music and stuff. You'd probably like some of my early albums.
I do like some
I know. Maybe not so much the later country stuff, but yeah. I still try and infuse everything I do with my concepts. And also, it's life is changes, and it's not, that was my time. I feel like I had my time to be that influencer in that specific way, and now I'm choosing a different path. So,
Well, I think you're evolving. Like, I would say you're clearly an influencer. We're here influencing the collective.
But I'm doing it in a different way, yeah.
But that's the evolution of it. We're going to continually evolve in this, and you're going to evolve beyond this too at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, I will.
You will.
Yeah, I will. I'm going to do it.
You're going to gamify everything.
I know. Yes.
Yes, gamify.
Oh, man. Gamify.
Gamify. Who wants to play?
What is I call this one? Gamifying. That's going to be the name of this episode. Gamifying with freedom, harmony, courage. Freedom, harmony, courage. Thank you for being on the podcast. This is La Vida Verde podcast. I'm Matthew Human. Today, my guest was Freedom, Harmony, Courage. How can they reach you?
You can go to the website visionsofthenewearth.com or join the community, which is where most of the content is going to be held, which is thenewearth.solutions.
Thenewearth.solutions. And we are found on YouTube. You can watch this on YouTube at La Vida Verde podcast. You can find us on Spotify and listen to us on Spotify and Apple Podcast. We're on Instagram at Finca Vida Verde CR. We're on Facebook at Finca Vida Verde. And we are still stuck in the matrix. Somehow my bank account still pays for all this. And if you would like to support that, you can join our Patreon, patreon.com/La Vida Verde podcast, and give us those Matrix bucks. They're not going to be worth anything to you anyways. So just support this. Relationships. It's been a great conversation. Thank you. We'll see you next time. Pura vida.
Pura vida.